Hello everyone, welcome to another round of podcast with SAERC, the Alumni Committee of IIM Ahmedabad, and we are very glad to present to you another guest, another IIM alum, and they are here to redefine the box. So we have with us Ms. Monika Sood, and today we are going to ask a lot of questions about life in consulting, how does consulting go forward in the future, and a lot of her insights from her life at IIM. Welcome Monika, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Dev. Thank you.
So we'll start with a basic introduction. And can you run our audience through a basic everything that you have done after IIMA?
After IIMA? Okay. Oh, it's such a long time ago, but anyway, I'll try and recollect. So I graduated from Ahmedabad in 1998, so it's been 25 years. I joined Procter & Gamble. I spent 2 years in what is known as customer business development, which is basically glorified name for sales. And I was looking at the Delhi territory for P&G. So that was 2 years, great experience, and I would highly recommend a 2-year sales stint for everyone. I think what you learn in sales is pretty much teaching for the rest of your life, right? 2 years later, I joined a company called Feedback Ventures. Feedback is in fact, interestingly, a homegrown consulting firm started by 4 alumni from Ahmedabad, right? So this was, I think, they were a batch of 81 or so, and I joined them as a consultant. I spent 13 years in Feedback, so a large chunk of time I learned consulting there. A lot of what I have been able to do in my life after that is essentially stuff that I picked up, whether it's in terms of culture, how to actually do consulting and building relationships. I think all of that I learned at Feedback. So I'm very grateful to Feedback for the opportunity I got. Vinayak and Gopal, Vinayak was the founder, Gopal was my immediate boss. Anyway, very, very grateful to them. After 13 years at Feedback, when I left, I used to head the corporate advisory division there. Then 14 of us moved out from Feedback, and we set up a small consulting firm which we called Retail Advisors. And then there were 2 partners. We ran it for about 9 years, and we grew from about 14 people to, I think, the maximum we reached were about 35-40 in that range. So very niche boutique consulting firm, and probably the best professional decision of my life, setting it up and running it. And then a couple of years ago, while we were debating in terms of what we need to do, we got, it was interesting, Gopal, who had since moved from Feedback to Bain, he reached out and he asked us, saying if we were open to looking at joining Bain, all of us. So we basically got acqui-hired, all of us, so all 28, 30, whatever, we moved from Arite to Bain, and we are now, all of us are now part of Bain. So that's been the journey.
So you started with how we should all get a sales experience.
Yes.
And many of our viewers who are going to log on to the podcast today are going to think that they are going to get some consult experience out of it.
Yes.
And it is really counterintuitive for a consultant to suggest that we should really start from sales.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm not sure if our viewers are going to get a different.
So I'll maybe elaborate and tell you what I mean by that. I think sales is an amazing grounding, right? When you graduate from an institute like the IIM, and especially IIM Ahmedabad, you feel you've achieved a lot, right? You are on top of the world. It's useful to get a little bit of grounding, and it's useful to start at the very bottom. Right, and that is what happens when you go, you join a sales company, or you're part of a sales function in any company. I remember the first couple of years, like I was saying, Delhi was my, where I worked. So I would go to East Delhi and South Delhi, those 2 were my territories. And I would do the beat with the salespeople. So I was a P&G key account manager was our designation. But we had distributors who stocked P&G goods, and then the distributor had salespeople who would go and sell. We would accompany them on a lot of these sales rounds. I remember in Delhi in May, walking into a store, and the store person who was happily sleeping saying, "Madam, aap kya kar rahe ho yahan?" दिल्ली की गर्मी में तो सिर्फ कुत्ते और सेल्समैन नज़र आते हैं एंड इट वॉज you obviously learn. So yes, you get used to starting at the bottom, learning. It's a hard grind, but more importantly, you learn how to interact with people. You understand how people operate. You understand what they mean when they say something. You learn how to work with people who are significantly senior to you as well as much junior to you. At a very young age, you learn how to manage 15-20 people, right? So I think these are life skills, right? And that is what that 2-year experience at PNG gave me, right? And I really value that. And then you're not necessarily making strategy 30,000 feet, because you always put yourself in that role and say, will it actually work on the ground or not, right? So even if you want to become a consultant, I think a 2-year sales stint is quite useful. I don't know whether it will finally take you to consulting, but I found it extremely useful.
So Monika came here on a 25-year reunion.
Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting that last night the entire electricity of Ahmedabad went out, and this is the first time this has happened. And there are rumors floating in our batch WhatsApp group, in our WhatsApp group, that her batch is behind all of this. So I just want that rumor to be put to rest and get official confirmation from her.
Absolutely, we are responsible. Did you guys have a doubt? We basically broke the circuitry, right, because of the ramp party that we were doing.
The next thing that our batch is going to learn from their batch is to how to do it right before the day of the exam.
Exactly. We'll have an offline session on that. No, it was great fun to come back to campus, and I understand this is no longer tradition, but we obviously believed in working hard and partying harder. And ramp parties were, parties that we look forward to. A lot of jumping, dancing. I'm not sure we can call it dancing, but yeah, attempts at dancing. And it was great fun to do it again after 25 years.
And how different is IIM Ahmedabad of 2023 from the IIM Ahmedabad of 96, 97?
Very, very different. You guys call it Heritage Campus. That was our one and only campus. This obviously is nice, very nice, the new campus, but the old campus had a charm, which obviously we miss, and when we are walking through the old campus, it feels bad because we understand coming down. So yeah, it's very different. Also, I think now you have too much technology, I don't know whether the same level of connect exists today that we had, and I think all batches talk about it, but and that just shows that we've grown older. But we would shout from the ground floor or whichever floor of your dorm, because we had one phone in the dorm. So if somebody got an external call, we would actually shout from one floor to the other and say, it's your call, right? But now everyone obviously has cell phones. So things have changed, but I think based on the experience that I've had over the last few years where we've been recruiting people from Ahmedabad, all students are only getting brighter. So there's something right which is happening. But yeah, my advice would be to make the most of your couple of years here, have fun, party, in addition to studying.
Which dorm and section were you in?
I was in D1 and Dorm 1, yes. We had only 2 dorms for women, D1 and D11. So I was in D1 and I was in section C, Psych C.
And what used to be, how many women were there in your batch?
I think we had, in a batch of 180 people, I think we had 27.
27?
Yeah. So it wasn't a large number, it's 15 odd %. I think the numbers have gone up now, right? But it's still about 20 odd %, right, of your batch?
It's roughly 25%.
Yeah, so so it's better than whatever 15-16% that we were. But yeah, 27 women.
So ma'am, since you mentioned technology and how we are progressing with technology, one concern that a lot of us as people who are seeking placements going forward is about the impact of technology on our jobs, especially in the consulting industry. So can you tell us a little more about it? How do you see it going forward?
See, technology is here to stay, right? And we at Bain do a fair bit of work with now using artificial intelligence and so on, right? And trying to solve our clients' problems using artificial intelligence. So technology is here to stay. We have to adapt right? I think the question is not saying whether we will lose jobs. I think the question is around saying how can we use technology better to solve problems in a much better way. We may need some reskilling in terms of saying, if I have to use ChatGPT, then I should know what prompts to write or what prompts to give so that I get the right answers, right? It's a different skill set. Similarly, if I'm going to use artificial intelligence and say create a digital marketing program for XYZ, then I need to understand saying how this technology works, right? So I think the way we build, the way we think about it, I think technology is here to say we have to learn how to use it better. It may not necessarily result in a loss of jobs, but it will result in a change in terms of the skill sets required for our jobs going forward, right? There will be some reduction in jobs for jobs which require routine work, right? So you just do the same process multiple times, technology will probably take over. But I think a lot of other avenues will open up. And I think it's evolving, right? So we are all trying to figure out how technology will play out going forward. The one thing everyone knows is it's here to stay.
So, what kind of reskilling I, as a PGP1 student of IIM Ahmedabad or for any other MBA institute for that matter, can start to do in my formative years of MBA experience?
Okay, maybe I'm not the right person to answer this, but I will try and attempt. I think just getting, first I think, and a skill that IIM Ahmedabad teaches you, I think, is not getting hassled by anything new, right? So, I think the 2 years at Ahmedabad taught me saying I can really learn anything very quickly, right? I still remember the case mat we got in year 1 or whatever, first midterm se pehle and a half first term, right? So I think one, not being daunted by it, step one, and trying to read up about what is actually happening, right? I don't think you need to know coding, right? Again, like I remember when we were learning accounting, Manac 1, Manac 2, we would always question saying, "Hame kyun padha rahe hain," right? Why do we are not going to become accountants, right? Exactly, I'm sure, every batch, right? So I think the logic there was saying you don't need to be an accountant, but when you're working with teams, you need to be able to understand what accounts means. When a spreadsheet comes to you, you should be able to evaluate, understand, say whether this is right or not, the right solutions to whatever problems come up. I think it's the same thing. We don't need to understand. None of us needs to go out and code, right? But we need to understand how we can leverage this better. So just being familiar with saying how can I use, let's say, ChatGPT or DALL-E or whatever in the work I'm doing today, right? How can I use, let's say, this technology to reduce the time I take to maybe create an advertising campaign, right? Today, various options are available, right? So I think that is the exposure that we need. And not so much saying, I need to now know how to do coding or machine learning or whatever it is, right? There will be some of us who may want to do that, it's a choice. But as managers, I don't think we need that, right?
And coming to your specific practice, your practice primarily revolves around the healthcare sector.
Correct.
How do you see the impact of technology there? Because we have long been hearing about longevity things. We have people like Brian Johnson who are attempting to reverse engineer their age. So, what is that future?
See, there's a lot that is happening on the healthcare side, right? And I work on the healthcare provider side, so a lot with hospitals, diagnostics and so on. So there are, if I may break this into 2-3 parts, there's clinical work that can improve, right? So today there is genomic testing that you can do. So based on which you can actually predict the likelihood of you getting a disease. Today we don't know whether you'll get this disease at this age, but you'll definitely know whether you are at a higher risk for, let's say, getting cardiac diseases, right? By looking at your genetic profile. You can today, let's say, diseases like cancer and so on, there's much better understanding. So post doing genomic testing, you can actually do some customized or personalized medication that is made for the mutation that you have, right? And that can lead to cure, right? So there's a lot which is happening around this. There's gene editing which is happening, which will help in eliminating a lot of congenital disorders, right? Now it's still in work in progress, but there is a lot happening there. So that's one, let's say, way where technologies come in. Then there are, if I look at hospitals where I do a fair bit of my work, there are areas where you can significantly improve efficiency by using data, artificial intelligence, etc. Right? So whether it is saying, recently one of the healthcare groups in India announced how they can use artificial intelligence to predict coronary artery diseases and what should be the protocol in terms of treatment. Right? So today you can use that. We have a lot of companies in India who are today using, who have like Cure.ai, who interpret CT MRI results, right? So you don't need a radiologist and they can actually do this, right? So using machine learning. So there is a lot that can be done in, let's say, healthcare in terms of improving efficiency by using technology better. Will technology replace doctors? Hopefully not. But there are today a lot of decision support systems which are available, saying if if these are the 10 symptoms and this is likely to be, whatever is the disease. But I think there's a huge role that doctors will continue to play. So hopefully we are not replacing doctors yet. But to improve outcomes, to improve diagnosis, and to improve functioning of hospitals, I think there's a lot that technology can do.
So to the question of whether doctors are going to get replaced, it was a hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
We are going to live longer. Is it a hopefully yes or a definitely yes?
I think we will, if you look at life expectancy, right, it's just been increasing. So in India today, I think we are at about 70 odd years. And it used to be 35, 40 in the early 1900 somethings, right? So yeah, we are going to live longer. And I don't know if we're going to live better lives, but we are probably definitely going to live longer lives.
Now coming to consulting as a possible career path for students like us, what makes your life very exciting? Because you seem to be very happy and you were enthralled with energy when you spoke about what you were doing.
Yes. No, so I've loved the last 23 years of consulting that I've done every single day. And to me, if I look at the last 25 years actually, there hasn't been a single day where I've woken up and felt, oh shit, I have to go to work, right? There's not been a single day, and that's kind of it shows how much I like consulting. What I like about consulting, I think, is 2-3 things. One, I think it is cliched as it may sound, problem solving. It is interesting to get a problem, try and solve it. It's not just solving a problem today, it's also implementing the solution. So you can actually see the impact of what you have recommended in terms of actually, let's say, whether it's driving revenue growth or reducing costs or whatever else, right, that you're trying to do. And that's obviously great fun. I personally enjoy 2 things a lot: interacting with clients and giving them gyan clearly. I like doing that. So that's that gives me a high. The third element, I think, is working with very bright individuals, right? So most consulting firms have people who are very, very bright, right? For example, we obviously come and recruit from here. Even in my previous firm at Redefine, we would come to Ahmedabad and recruit, right? So we have great people. That the people you interact with are very, very bright. So it's fun working with them. At the end of the day, I'm not going to solve a problem. It's the team which is working and really working very hard, right? So I think that ability to work with a very sharp, very smart team, and also at the same time contribute to their growth and development, right? As you get more senior, that is what you do. You're helping teams do better, right? You're helping what we call professional development of teams, right? And that's very satisfying, right? So solving problems, giving yarn to clients, and working with a bunch of very sharp, smart, intelligent folks. I think those are the 3 things which keep me in consulting. And every single engagement that you do, you learn a lot, right? I work in hospitals, and I've been working in hospitals now, let's say, for quite some time. But every engagement that I do, I will learn 50 new things, right? And that learning never stops. So that's also something that keeps you very excited and happy.
So if I were to ask the secret sauce, since you come for recruitment, what do you look for in candidates?
In addition to being smart and so on, no, but I think, let me go. Secret sauce, I think, is your ability to think. Right? We don't, when a recruiter will ask you a problem, we are not expecting a an answer right to the third decimal point, right? What we are looking at is saying, if you're given a problem, how do you approach it, right? And today, I know the way everyone prepares, right? So everyone does the same cases, you prepare the same way. And it's very visible from us on the other side saying, oh, acha, while we are giving you a problem, you're already slotting it into, acha, ye capex ka hai ki opex reduction hai, yeah, right? But exactly. So what issue am I trying to solve? And we can always see you thinking like that. But I think people on the other side now have enough experience to see through that. So yes, it's important for you to practice, but I think thinking about saying, if this was a problem that I was faced with today, how is it that I would approach? And bringing that point, you don't need to bring jargon, right? It is how you would think about it, how would you structure this problem? And it doesn't have to be 5 buckets, 3 buckets, 2 buckets, but it's saying if I need to increase revenue, then I need to sell more. Now if I have to sell more, how do I go about? So it is just the approach that you're going to take, and that is the most important for us, right? Saying if somebody can think through how they would approach a problem, that's essentially what we're looking for. Your ability to work hard, because consulting sounds very glamorous. It is a lot of hard work, right? Your ability to work within teams, right? And communication is important because you work with the external world, right? So you will interact with clients, and therefore that's an important skill set. It's not language, it's communication. So your ability to articulate what you know and communicate that to the client is very, very important. As increasingly we are doing a lot more implementation work, your ability to work with not just your teams but the client teams and helping them in implementing the solutions is also very, very, so that level of maturity I think is also very important. So those are simple small things that we look for.
I'm sure this does not sound as simple for us. Okay, bringing it back to IIM Ahmedabad, to the 25-year reunion, and she mentioned that there were a few subjects that she constantly asked, कि ये हमको क्यों पढ़ाते हैं? So what were the most dreaded subjects at your time?
Dreaded subjects? Legal aspects of business, lab. It wasn't dreaded, but it was just boring. The subject that, there was something called FORM, Futures, Options and Risk Management.
That's called FM now.
Yes, correct. And it was an elective subject. I don't know why, but I decided I wanted to take up the subject. Professor Sidsina used to teach this program. And I think he used to be at that level. There were 2 or 3 people in the class who were at this level. And me and everyone, and a lot of other people who were at that level, right, in terms of our understanding. So yeah, that was an interesting course. I wouldn't want to do it again. Then yeah, I think I really enjoyed all the courses. I may not have done very well on all of them, but yeah, I think I would say the most boring would be lab, or yeah, that's about it. Dreaded were, I think, SAMDA, AMDA. Do you guys have that? So that is the statistical methods in or data analytics or decision. Possible. And we had Professor Madhavan who would teach us that course. And we actually called SAMDA. SAMDA, the full form for us was something Madhavan does alone. Yeah, that I didn't take. I think it was an elective and it was no more. So yeah, quantitative methods was probably the second one. Yeah.
All right. So it was great talking to you, ma'am.
Anytime.
Thank you so much for giving us the time. And
no worries.
So many nuggets of information. So we kept this podcast a little free flowing, coming from Ahmedabad to consulting to healthcare, and it was absolutely enjoyable talking to you.
I'm happy to. If anyone wants to reach out, please feel free. I'm sure we will share whatever coordinates. Happy to talk to you guys through whatever you want to know. Thank you for the opportunity.
It was our pleasure.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.